when it comes to the surveillance states,
yes,
I mean, if that doesn't scare you, and again, this is why, like I said, the worst ideology in the United States are privileged liberals. They are the absolute worst because they go completely against one of the most important statements that any founding father ever made, which of course is Ben Franklin saying, if you're willing to give up liberty for security, you deserve neither. And they are willing to give up liberty for security, at least in their own mind.
Oh, yes.
Yeah. Oh, yeah, absolutely. Yeah. I mean, I railed against that as a candidate. I railed against it in books. I wrote a book called Google Archipelago, in which I talked about the it's all about the totalitarian nature of the digital gulag, as I called it, and they want to put us all in one. And it could get even worse than that. It could be used for pre-crime arrests. You have Gideon software. This guy goes on Fox News talking about how we can anticipate all kinds of things and arrest people before they do anything.
Right. Yeah.
And this is terrifying.
Yeah.
And, I mean, I got to say, they're targeting leftists mostly.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, they're targeting the anti-Israel, pro-Palestine left, as we saw with all the deportation attempts and arrests and all that. So I feel for you in that sense if you're on the left, because you're getting more heat. But I wouldn't be surprised if Trump came out and tried to say, you can't even have an anti-Zionist PAC. That's not legal. We're not going to allow that to be legal in this country.
We'll see how big it ultimately ends up getting. And I will tell you that one of the biggest issues I've had with just leftists, both Jen and I have had, and this was something that goes back to when she ran for Congress against Wasserman Schultz, it was painfully clear that one of the big issues that a lot of people have in comfortable suburban liberal areas is the Second Amendment. They really see guns as being something that is bad. And the only people who should have them are cops, which again just completely falls in the face of reality.
Yeah, because they're not criminals. Because they're not committing the most crimes.
Well, yeah, I mean, listen, the first person who ever called the cop on our campaign was Debbie Wasserman Schultz for putting a door hanger on her door. So
okay, first of all, that was me. It was hilarious. That was as mean as I got. We did it twice. We knew she didn't want it. She lives in a gated community, but we had one of our volunteers whose dad lives in that community. So he was in there and she caught him on her ring in the middle of the night, sneaking up to her front door to put a door hanger on her door. And then he did it 2 different times. And so therefore that warranted her calling the management. This was a problem. Door hanger.
And I have been saying for the longest time, whether you want to believe it or not, the only reason why we are not a totalitarian state today is because this is an armed nation. That's it.
Yeah, that's
the only reason.
That's probably right. I think that's true. And there's a great deal of spirit of independence, and it still lives on, I think, despite, the many incursions against it. But our PAC is not going to get into any of that because
no, we're focused on the main thing. And that was I wanted to add, we definitely support things that are pro-worker. We also very much see it as a class war. We see it as a top-down thing, just the same as you do.
Yeah.
Even though I definitely do want people that believe in universal basic services and people that want to give healthcare. That is definitely in our mind when we say the 90%. Yeah.
Yeah, I've come around to that. If you were to look at some of my campaign material, and maybe you have actually, because you are such an aficionado of this, I was like, cut everything, and cut the state down to nothing. But now I have a different thought, is that, look, I think we should force this stuff on the state in order to get rid of all this military contracting and the incredible budget that we have for the military. It's insane. And Trump increased it despite being the anti-war candidate, supposedly. Unbelievable. So, I mean, we've had this growth in the military industrial complex under him, an enormous growth. And, I'm against that. And I think the best way probably to get rid of it is to force the issues that we really want, and that is we want to take care of our people.
Yes.
And that takes care of the world, as we said before.
Yeah.
That helps the whole world.
Well, let's end on a positive note.
Sure.
I assume that you are familiar with Medea Benjamin and Code Pink. Now, They are obviously the best of the left, as I like to say.
Yeah, they are.
when it comes to the efforts on Capitol Hill, nobody is more committed. Well,
They're the anti-war people.
They certainly are. Medea has a very positive message to share with us that she just dropped on Friday.
I was really shocked when I read yesterday that Seth Moulton, a congressman from Massachusetts who's challenging Ed Markey for Senate, did something extraordinary. He said he's sending back the checks from AIPAC. He will not take AIPAC money. What's so extraordinary is that Seth Moulton is not particularly good on Palestine. In fact, we at Code Pink rate him as C. He won't even sign the Block the Bombs legislation to stop sending bombs to Israel. But it shows that he knows which way the wind is blowing. He sees that the majority of the American public, especially Democrats, don't want to keep sending money to Israel and don't support AIPAC.
Excellent. You know, I mean, this is what we need to make it almost a shame. You have to be shamed to be a Zionist. You have to be ashamed. We need to create a cultural environment in which it's absolutely anathema to be Zionist, and that's
very much so. It is. I think that it's very traitorous. You know, they want to talk about dual loyalty all the time. As far as, you know, it was always a thing about Jewish people. They're dually loyal, and it's like, no, Zionists or they're not even dually loyal. They're just loyal to Israel.
Loyal to Israel. It's unbelievable. You look at somebody like Bill Ackman or
Ben Shapiro.
Oh, Ben Shapiro. I mean, you know, I can't even look at the guy without getting sick. But what's that?
Little Ben,
yeah. Yeah. You know, as actually Norman Finkelstein calls them, the Jewish billionaire class. These people are 100% Israel. I mean, they put and what's his name? The Palantir founder, Larry Ellison, is the biggest single individual donor to the IDF.
So Ellison is Oracle, right, and Palantir is Alex Karp and Peter
Thiel.
Right. But Larry Ellison is the biggest, you know, Oracle is going to combine with Palantir for the surveillance state in the United States.
What could go wrong?
What could go wrong? He's the biggest individual donor to the IDF, directly giving $380 million to the IDF. Insane.
And this also gets back to one of the core principles of libertarianism, which is you cannot have monopolies in the United States. That's right. Like it is a core belief that you cannot have a free market if you have monopolies. The violation of the Sherman Act has been so obvious ever since the worst domestic president of my lifetime is Bill Clinton. There is no question about that. And the type of policies that he pushed through, whether on his own or with the assistance of Gingrich and the GOP, in no questions asked, you have this Telecom Act of 96 that has created this entire merger system now where there are no limits to anything. When multinational corporations want to get together and merge everything, that's why you've got Ellison now basically going to turn into our country's version of Rupert Murdoch. He's going to go out, he's going to buy up everything he can get his hands on, everything. And who's going to stop him? The entire government is bought off by corporate power. So in many ways, that is fascism.
Yeah. Unbelievable. So you can't believe that they allowed these sales to go through, like CBS News, Paramount streaming, all these things now under Ellison and Son control. It's just unbelievable. So we're gonna be hit. We're in a Hasbro bubble, as I like to say. They're gonna try to put us in a Hasbro bubble where we get no other information, and they're gonna drive people like us. They're trying to drive us nuts because we're gonna be like, what? This, the inversion of reality that they try to pull off. It's gonna be very interesting, but I think we have enough consciousness already developed in the American public that we can overcome it. The consciousness is already, it's a done deal because there was a live stream genocide. That's gonna like,
exactly.
It's never going back. They can't put the genie back in the bottle.
when you see somebody like Dan Goldman, who definitely thinks he's going to get a primary in the Democratic Party in New York City next year, starting to say, yeah, what's going on with the Palestinians isn't so good, you know the corner's turning. You know it's coming. So credit to Medea. She's got a little bit more to say. But just the idea that such a milquetoast corporate centrist like Seth Moulton is saying, I'm giving back AIPAC money, it's a matter of time. That's how I see it. We'll finish it out.
And this comes in the wake of other centrist Democrats doing the same thing. Two of them from North Carolina, Valerie Fouché and Deborah Ross, said they won't take AIPAC money. Even a Republican from Kentucky, Morgan McGarvey, said he won't take AIPAC money. We know there are plenty of progressives who won't take AIPAC money, and there are two Republicans, Marjorie Taylor Greene and Tom Massey, who won't take AIPAC money. Of course, AIPAC won't give them money, but this is extraordinary. This is new. This is showing the crack after 2 years of genocide, that politicians are finally recognizing that it's not in their interest to be associated with the pro-Israel lobby group AIPAC. Even President Trump said it back in September. He said Israel used to have the strongest lobby. Now that lobby isn't so strong anymore. So my message to all of you in the United States, call your members of Congress, call your two senators, and tell them, don't take AIPAC money. And of course, don't send any more U.S. dollars to Israel.
Yeah. And by the way, and I see someone in the chat saying, how about DMFI? Same difference. And that's what we need also to people understand that AIPAC is what I use is it's a ubiquitous term that I feel like is getting thrown around as Israel lobby, but it is more than AIPAC, but they are the biggest one. And they are the one in terms of the most membership and the biggest. I mean, Kufi is big, but you don't hear about that in the same way.
Not at all. But I think that there's a good 25. We put a list together of all the Israeli Zionist lobbies. It's a lot. So that's what we're up against. And that's why I'm so glad that we join you in this field, that we join together in this field of overturning this. We can pool the resources of Americans together to overturn this. We can do it.